Live.
Yay!
Well, thank you already. Anyone who's tuning in now, or if you're watching the recording later, my name is Jessica Ann, and I am an indie author. I just had a book come out in December, and I also write here on Substack through my publication called Wildest Dreams, which documents not only my own wildest dream of becoming a published author's journey, but also I like to highlight and talk about highlight other indie authors, which is why we're here today during our indie author spotlight. So I'm going to pass it over to Jaylon, and she can introduce herself as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much, both of the Jessicas, for being here.
Mhm.
My name is Jaylan. I am editor-in-chief at One Brilliant Arc. We're a story studio that specifically focuses on authors from marginalized backgrounds or who have faced silencing in the past to get their stories out there in their voice and find those connections with the people who need their stories. So with that, I'm going to pass it on to Jessica Morse. We're so thankful that you're here with us, and I'm super excited to talk about your story. But I'll let you introduce yourself first and tell us a little bit about how you started writing.
Okay, I'm Jessica Morse. I live in Florida right now. I'm a military spouse. My husband's been in the Air Force for 23 years.
Wow.
I do 3 kids. I've been writing since I was 7, I think, picking up pens, writing stories just whenever I could. I'm an only child, so I was bored a lot. Just going to all my parents' things. So I would just write and read, and that's kind of how I made sense of the world. And I haven't stopped since. Yeah, I've lost my way somewhere in life, but I've always picked it back up. And it's always been what I wanted to do. So yeah.
That's
That
so
is so
special.
awesome.
Yeah. I will say, myself also a military spouse, although 23 years, that's a lot. For us, it was only 5, and we just reached the finish line. But that experience is still so very fresh, and I have so much respect for you and your husband making it through that adventure for the 23 years. But I think there is a lot to talk about there about how special writing is to have as um, that gifting that you have, because there's a lot of challenges that military spouses uniquely face that I feel like writing stories can kind of be a healing balm to. Um, but have you found writing to be helpful throughout your journey, and what were some of the specific challenges that being a military spouse uh, made you face?
Yeah, I 100% have found that writing has helped me through being a military spouse. For one, it's really created connection with everybody, which is something that I think most people, even if you're not in the military world, we're seeking. In a world where we're connected, we're not really always together and feeling like we're connected. So writing has always been a way for me to kind of stay in touch with myself, but with others as well, and documenting, our journey.
Mhm.
Um, some of the challenges is definitely just time, finding the time. I've had 3 kids. My husband's been deployed, um, you know, 13 times. That's
Oh,
not
wow.
including TDYs and things like that. So, I've done the single mom thing for a long time. My oldest is 15 now. So, that's really honestly the biggest challenge when it comes to finding the time. And we just stay so busy. But I will say the War Horse, if you guys haven't heard of it, it's a nonprofit newsroom for military, and they do a cohort every year. They do like different demographics, but they did a military spouse one. Gosh, I think it was in 2022, and I went to that, and it was 4 days. It's up in New York, and they really focus on teaching us how to be vulnerable, how to write and make sense of our stories, and teaching us really that our stories are needed and people need to hear what we say. Yeah.
That's so powerful. I'm so glad that there are more organizations out there doing that because, as a startup company, 1 billion, that's like our main goal is to let people know that their stories matter and that
Mhm.
the world needs them because it's really the storytellers who have that access to healing in a unique way when they can process the pain in their stories and heal their own hearts and then share that healing with others and let them know you're not alone in your experiences. Um, So I think that's so awesome to hear of other organizations that are pushing that message forward and really encouraging the storytellers in our world to keep going and keep telling their stories even through all the challenges. Because like you said, there's something so odd that in a world where we're more connected than ever with the World Wide Web, a lot of the connection is superficial. And that honesty and that vulnerability of writing from the heart is so, that's the power of
Mhm.
connection. And so being able to tap into that, especially when, as a military spouse, you're moving around a lot and that transition is so frequent in your life, it's hard to put down roots anywhere. So that's even more so, I feel like, a benefit to your story. With that, I do want to hear about the story that you have in the works
Yep.
because you have conquered the challenge of finding the time to write and you do have a story in the works. Um, so, yeah, tell us about the story that you're writing and give us a little sneak peek.
So I'm writing, the novel is called Somewhere to Land, and it does feature a military spouse as the main character. Her name is Leah. Um, it is inspired. It's not my story, but it is kind of
Mhm.
inspired by my story. I've taken stories from other spouses and kind of mashed it all into one book. Really kind of throwing everything in the kitchen sink at this spouse. So she's living overseas in England and experiencing a 365 deployment during COVID. Um, and she has 4 kids. She's also trying to she's a photographer, and she's kind of lost sight of that dream and really who she is through
Mhm.
all of her experiences as a military spouse. At this point, they've been married for a long time, they've moved a bunch of times, and this is something that I've definitely been through many times.
Yeah.
Um, and so it's really about her finding herself again, realizing that when he's gone and the dust is settled and you're not leaving the house all the time, and COVID was really a time for, I feel like, a lot of self reflection, um, because we were forced to sort of be still. And it's kind of her going, wait, who am I again? Where do I belong? Where are my roots?
Mhm.
Um, where do I want to keep going? And choosing herself again finding herself. And so that's really what it's about. It's gonna be great. I'm really excited. And
Yeah,
I am
it's
with a book coach as well. So that's really helpful.
okay, that's awesome. I'm so excited. Like, I love to hear how many women right now are writing about this because, like, and everyone's doing it like through their own lens. And so, like, for you, it is through this lens of a military spouse. And, like, like my book, I could say is probably about the same thing, but it's a totally, like, the plot is different, but the message is the same. And it's about women finding themselves again and choosing themselves. And what does that actually look like? And I do it through the fantasy lens, but it's so encouraging to see. And I think we need more stories like that because we need women, not waiting till they're 40 or so years old, to realize that we have a voice. And we should, hopefully our daughters and children will discover that younger. So
Mhm.
Yes,
that's really
for sure.
awesome.
Yeah.
It is so cool to see all the different authors that we've interviewed for the Indie Author Spotlight. Identity is a big thing that comes up because I think writing very specifically forces you to define your identity because you can only last so long writing kind of like just copying other people's styles. Writing forces you to find your voice in order to stand out in the sea of content that we have nowadays. And I know for myself, especially, I'll speak to the military spouse experience with it's hard to find your identity when, the challenges are a lot of times focused on the active duty member, the service member, and we should like give honor to the challenges that they face. But it's a lot more than people are willing to talk about to say, no, it's also the support person who is, being asked to step into this role of sacrificing their entire lives to putting service over even their families or their own well being. And that's something that a lot of people don't talk about. They don't talk about how, yes, it's a job, but it's a job that very uniquely asks you to put it first when we're all realizing how hard it is to live in a lifestyle. I mean, we talked about this too, Jess, where um, there's this movement where we're all realizing that being in even a 40-hour-a-week job is too much for a lot of us because there's no time for us to just be ourselves. So is that something that you had a journey with in your writing, in finding your voice that way and finding your identity?
Oh, absolutely. I'm still on that journey.
Yeah.
I I don't know. I mean, I have other writers that I talk to because I really struggle with perfectionism and imposter syndrome, and it stumps me. And I have other writers that I reach out to, and they're like, "Oh, that's normal," and they've all been
Yeah.
published several times, and they're
Yep.
like, "That
Yep.
never goes away." I'm like, "Oh, great, how reassuring."
Yo, wait till you write book 2. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think your voice, it changes so much as you age. I recently found something that I wrote in my 20s, after a year of being married with my husband, and it was like the 7 stages of grief when it comes to deployments. And that was I think my first like major combat deployment that he did married, and he's
Mhm.
special operations, so it's like
Oh,
it would be, unexpected a lot of times.
yeah.
Um and I I was reading it and I was just thinking some of those points I learned really early on, and I think you do because it's trial by fire. Um, and I knew them early on, and I still kind of had some of the same voice, but 20 years later, my perspective has obviously changed greatly, and my voice has too. It's maybe a bit more cynical than it was then. Um, but yeah, finding my voice has always been a challenge, and I think it'll change from this book to the next one. And I write different kinds of stories. I don't just focus on military. I really write stories for women, but yeah. So yeah, voices. It's such a tricky thing because I just think even day to day, like if I'm having a bad day, I can't
Mhm.
sit down and write this joyful, happy scene. And if I do, you're gonna catch undertones of like
Yeah.
underneath, you know.
Yeah. As humans, we're always changing. Yeah. We're not
Yeah,
like, yeah, static
yeah.
things. So,
But I
Jay
think that's
Kristen just mentioned in the comments the maturing is
mhm.
a good word.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think you have like your basic kind of core tenets. I mean, one thing I think for me for writing, and I think for a lot of writers, but just being vulnerable and so honest that it's scary. I mean, I feel like sometimes I just take a deep breath and plunge and just don't look. And I'm like, that's the only way to do it, right? Like,
Do it scared. Yeah.
yeah, do it
Yeah.
scared. Being vulnerable and honest is really,
Mhm.
I think, where my writing, my base is. So,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So where are you actually in your book? Like how are you writing, editing, getting ready to publish? Like where are you in
yeah.
your journey?
I'm still at the beginning. So I have an extremely detailed outline. I'm working on my prologue. I have ADHD, so I like to skip around. So sometimes if I'm like this scene, this dialogue has popped up in my head and it's way further down, I'm going to open a Word document and I'm going to just blurt it out. And I may use it and I may not. Um,
Mhm.
I know a lot of writers, I have one too, have a folder called Kill My Darlings. So
Yeah.
like at the time I'm like, "This is a great idea, this is beautiful," and then it's like, "This doesn't work with this," and then I don't delete it, I have to save it.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
yeah,
My
so
file to that effect in my Google Drive is literally called my compost pile.
Oh my
oh, I
god.
love that. That's a good one. There's something grows from it, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly.
I love that. Yeah, no, so I'm in my prologue and I haven't written anything in February. It has been the most insane month. And so, talking about juggling busy schedules, I'm not a master at it. I'm still flailing about all the time. Um,
We all
but
are.
I'm really looking forward to focus. I know. I'm like, I'm taking a little bit of time off work in the next couple of weeks to kind of get back on track with writing my novel.
Mhm.
So yeah. good.
That's awesome. I know you mentioned that you're working with a book coach, and I'm really interested to hear your perspective of how that's helped you through this journey, and if it has been helpful to you, because that's actually what we do at One Brilliant Arc, and I feel like a lot of people don't know that that option is out there because writing is a super intense journey that a lot of people don't, again, we don't talk about it enough, so people aren't prepared for it. They're just like, oh, I'll write a book. And then don't realize what an intense journey it is, like mentally, spiritually, physically, all of it.
Yes.
So what was your experience with working with a book coach?
Well, I'm going to shout out my book coach, Julie Tully. She wrote Dispatches of Cowgirl, and she works with the military editing agency. Um, she is absolutely fantastic. Really, she's knowledgeable about the book market as well. So the business side of books, which is
Mhm.
something that, gosh, when you get into writing, it's a whole new world. And you're like, what is this? I thought I was just going to write a book. No, you're not.
Yeah.
So, but I call her my therapist. I haven't actually met her in person, but I'm always like, I need to send you, I don't know, a bottle of wine or something because I, she's basically my therapist. She, she just talks to me through everything. And I'm constantly doubting myself and being like, I need a pep talk. Can I do this? Are you sure? And, you know, just really holding me accountable when I need it, but also giving me grace when I need it because,
Mm.
this month I had every intention of finishing my prologue and giving it to her, but I haven't been able to do it. And there's no like shame on you or anything like
Mhm.
that. Met with a lot of understanding. Um, they always give me really good ideas too of things that I just didn't think of, or I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that my writing was reading that way, or just different perspective. I'm an extrovert, so
Hey,
writing
another extrovert
Hey,
in the
you found
writer.
another unicorn.
Of course her names are Jessica.
I know, right? I know. Maybe it's a thing. And writing is such a solitary thing, but I'm not a solitary writer. I have to have somebody to bounce my ideas off of. I need to have I need to have accountability as well. So I don't think I could write this book without a book coach. They taught me how to write an outline. I mean, I kind of knew how, but the way they had me do it was very detailed and helpful, and it keeps me on track. And like I've mentioned, the ADHD, I need help staying on track. So, like that's helpful. My biggest thing is it's hard for me to share my writing, even though I'm on Substack and I post on here. I get really nervous sending my stuff in to even my book coach because she's a published author and I get intimidated and I'm like, what if this isn't good enough for her?
It's a
Um,
scary first step for sure.
it is. Yeah. But she's always so supportive and encouraging. And yeah, I, if anybody is out there thinking, I want to write a book, I would highly recommend finding a book coach that you vibe with, who understands you, who can help you along the journey because it's brutal. Like
Yes.
it can be so brutal and lonely and that's hard. And I think that's why a lot of people quit. And I didn't want to quit this time. Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
Yes,
that's
that's
awesome.
so powerful.
Mhm.
Thank you for sharing that because I feel like a lot of times it's hard to describe how holistic the practice of book coaching is for authors. Because it's kind of like, yes, we're that professional perspective for you that we can give you advice on all of these things that you had no idea you had to know when you went to write a book, like the marketing and the publishing details and formatting and editing, all that. But also it's a lot of like we don't want you to be scared to submit your stuff to us. We want to be that safe place for you and really just learn your creative process, learn your writing style so that we can walk alongside you and hold your hand as you're going through that process and every baby step because that self-doubt is so common for I think every creative, but writers in particular. I was a writer before I was an editor, before I was a book coach, and I know it very personally. And then our company founder, Jared, is also a writer, and he also has ADHD, and I was his editor first. So learning how to work with him and make sure that you are supporting the writer's voice and not just shaping the story in the way that you want, but making sure that the writer's voice is amplified, is so powerful. And I'm so grateful that I get to do it. And I'm so grateful that there's authors out there like you who are benefiting from it as well.
Yeah, I want to add too with the whether it's a book coach or an editor or even if a writer you're listening right now and you can't afford that, like even having someone for that accountability piece of like sharing that. But one thing I want to say is if someone is telling you to change your story or to write to market, this is one of my biggest pet peeves, and I'm going to go on a
Yes.
little rant.
Do it. Do it, rant.
If I hear another writer, another author telling me that their editor or coach told them to change their story because it's not as marketable, I'm going to be pissed because
Yes. Yes.
So anyways, that's my 2 cents is don't change your story. Find someone who really is going to support you telling your story in that way. And like it doesn't mean they don't change anything. Like, obviously an editor or coach is there to help you too, like you said, through that professional lens. But there's a way to do it that still amplifies your voice and your story. And I think that is key because anything is like, so I can say, like, I'm also an extrovert like you. So I do love the marketing piece. I do love the talking to other people piece of the book world. And I can say that it's so much easier to market and to sell something that you believe in. At least for me, because like I know I have trouble if I was, if I had, I don't know, written a book that I just thought was what everybody wanted, it would be hard for me to go out and tell people to read that book. But because I know I wrote exactly the story that I wanted to tell, that translates to sales. I mean, like it translates to people's hearts, but then also to actual book sales. So I think that is important for authors to think about when they are writing their story is like yes, you want to tell the story because that's what's sitting in your heart, but also it's going to be so much easier on the inside of that to actually go out and talk to people and market it because you care about what you do and people will feel that. So,
For sure.
100%. And I think, that goes back to the authenticity thing, right? You believe in. One thing I was going to say of how I found my book coach, because I mentioned finding someone you vibe with.
yeah.
I do think you should shop around and interview. Treat it like a job because that's what writing is. If you want to publish, if you want it to be a career, you have to treat it like a job. And so one thing is I've been following Julie for several years on Instagram
Oh, wow.
and sort of supporting her, reading her stuff, commenting, just here and there, touching base on social media. And when I saw that she had published through the military, well, she had edited through them, and then she started working with them, I thought, "Oh my goodness, like this is such a kismet opportunity, right?" Like it just, "Hey, a flashing sign, you need to do this now." And so I did kind of follow her there. So I really think like getting on social media, finding authors that you connect with and that you like their writing, or you don't, even just have to be in the same genre, just somebody that you're like, I like their style or their personality. And just seeing where that goes and taking risks. Reach out to people. I've reached out to big authors and I've gotten responses shocked me.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so I think sometimes people are like, "Oh, they're too busy," and I say, "Reach out, try it."
For sure. For sure. Especially here on Substack. I mean, I can
Yeah.
speak for us. Our DMs are always open. We always want people to reach out to us. But also, I have also reached out to much bigger Substacks and been like, oh my goodness, you mean they responded to me? So that's awesome. Thank you so much for the love, Sarah. I hope I said your name correctly. But yeah, kind of going off of that, building that connection with the story that you write, and then that being the story that you share with the world. What is it, Jessica, that you hope that your readers of this novel will feel in when they finally close your book at the end?
I want my readers to feel seen. I want them to feel connection and hope and less alone. I think anything I write, Substack, anything I'm writing for the public that is my ultimate goal is feel seen, feel less alone. Connection really drives me as an extrovert. Uh, and yeah, I think, there's so much loneliness and maybe people feeling isolated that I think that's my main goal. Military spouses in particular, but women, you don't have to be a military spouse to know what losing yourself in the world feels like,
Yeah.
as a spouse, as a mom, as a career person. You know, um, it's so easy to lose sight of who you are. And um, we're all kind of walking this journey together. And I want everybody who reads my book, I want you to feel, like you have like you have people in your corner and you're
Mhm.
not. Yeah.
That is so special. I say all the time that writing is and telling your story very much is the why behind it is to let you know that you're not alone. Our souls all speak the language of story, and I think that people willing to share their stories like you are, again, the ones who are going to change the world because they're creating those bridges of connection and healing and helping us to feel less alone. So I really love that, and I'm really grateful that you're sharing it with us first before it's even fully shared with the world. But we're really looking forward to seeing where it goes.
Yeah. I do wanna say, I think that's that's really smart of you for starting, like, even though you are at the very beginning part of the writing phase of starting of talking about it online, because I think again, that's a mistake I see so many new writers make, is they're like, "Oh, yeah, I'm, like, 2 months away from publishing," and they're just now getting online and talking about their book, and it's like, again, going back to, marketing and business stuff, like, it takes so much repetition for people to hear about your book before they actually make that decision to buy it, and so, like, bringing people along the journey, and people love, like, we love a journey, we love to root for someone and to see that growth and to see that, so, like, I'm so excited that we get to follow you, from the very beginning and, through the process, so
Yeah,
it's
I
really
have to
great.
admit, some of it is a accountability thing for me. I'm like,
Oh, I get that too.
if I keep talking about it and if I, tell you guys that I'd love to talk about my book, I have to keep writing it.
Yep.
So, some of that's like a accountability on my part. But a big part of it, yeah, I have been studying marketing. You do have to start talking about these things as early as possible. And putting yourself out there, and that's terrifying. It is, but it's also really exciting. I've met the most interesting people through talking about my journey, sharing my crazy mess of a mind, and I'm getting connection from it. What I want my readers to feel is what I'm getting from sharing this journey is like, oh, me too, and you're not alone, and you're not crazy. We all feel this way. Um,
Yeah.
and so that's been, and I love sharing. I honestly kind of like sharing my journey almost more than writing the book sometimes. It's like because the book can get so heavy and I put so much pressure on it. So this, writing about it is
Mhm.
more of a escape and an outlet in a way. Yeah.
I can see that.
Did you see the recent, like, talking about the accountability piece, the recent challenge I just gave myself for
No,
writing book
I
2?
didn't.
I
What
went a
is it?
little ambitious on this, but I gave myself the challenge of I started on February 23rd, of writing an average of 800 words per day, for 150 days until my 40th birthday on July 23rd. So, yeah, n and I'm publicly talking about it every day on Instagram. So, because I'm also
Yeah.
really, even though I'm an extrovert, I'm really bad at talking to my camera when I'm alone. Like, I'm fine because I'm talking to you guys, but when it's just my phone and me, I, like,
It's
freeze up and I
different.
can't do it. So,
Yeah.
it's, like, both me practicing that skill and having that accountability piece of, like, "Oh, I'm doing this in front of the world, so I have to write today."
I love that. I know I posted my first video today, right, like an hour before we got
That's
on here,
awesome.
and I was like, "This is so
Congratulations.
awkward," but I was like, "I'm just gonna do it."
Just
Just
do
Yes,
it.
I
do
was
it
in the
No
car
one
scared.
with my daughter, and I was like, "This is it. This I'm gonna do it right now." So,
Yes.
yeah. But that's a cool challenge. I love that. I know I like how we make ourselves accountable by doing crazy things.
Yes.
Like, oh,
Yep.
and it's funny, you're Jessica and your birthday's in July. Mine's in July too.
You
What
guys
day
are
is it
basically
in
twins.
July?
I know, July 8th.
Okay. So
I'm a
you're a
little
Cancer. I'm a Leo.
oh, okay. There you go. Hmm.
Community is so powerful too with driving that why behind your writing and also making sure that you don't quit. I think that this is so beautiful to see these kind of spaces where we can come together. Jeanette York mentioned loves women's stories, and I agree. We all do here, and
Mhm.
I think that that's so special that we can all come together in this space and get to support each other and cheer each other along the journey.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Before we go, I always like asking a fun question about, and I know you don't have the whole book written, but you have outline. Do you have like, I don't know, without giving away spoilers, like a favorite part, a favorite scene, a favorite character, like even like a side character, just something like fun little tidbit that we can
Gosh,
look
that
forward
is
to?
that's so hard. I love okay, let me think. I love the setting because it is in England.
What do you know
Um,
what part of England?
yeah, it's near Cambridge.
Oh,
And
okay.
we that is where we lived. We were stationed there as
Oh,
well.
awesome.
Twice, which was really fortunate. And the other part is set in West Texas, which is where I'm from. And I'm a big roots person. Where I come from is really important to me. And so I really love the setting. I like writing about the setting. I like writing about my homes. I feel like I
Mhm.
could belong in England just as much as I belong in Texas
That's awesome.
now. And so, yeah, the setting is really, really great and it's fun to write British stuff. I mean, who doesn't like
Mhm.
that? And, and then, um, as far as side characters, I love my main character's friends that she makes. She has military spouses, good and bad. We all have good and bad.
Yeah.
Um, but they make it spicy, and that's fun and fun. And and then the kids, I mean, I definitely wrote her kids inspired by my own.
Mhm.
And it's fun to to remember crazy toddlers and the things they do, and you know, and that kind of thing. Yeah, I don't know. I love everything. Like,
Well, that's so
um,
great.
no, I can't think of anything super specific, but those are definitely some top ones. I like banter. I'm a banter person. So
Some good witty banter is great.
Yes.
my character and her husband are very,
Mhm.
banter and
I
sarcastic.
love
So
I love
yeah,
it. Is sarcasm like the language besides acronyms? Is sarcasm the language of all military couples?
I think so. I think it's a survival thing. You have
Yeah,
to
for
have it
sure. That dark humor though is like
100%. Yes. Yeah. But yeah, so it's great. I'm really excited for everybody to read it and put it out there. Now I'm like, oh, I gotta go write.
Yeah.
Well, we
And
won't keep you long then. We'll let you go strike while the iron is hot and get some writing out. Because we're super excited for this book to exist so we can
thank
all
you.
read your story and get to know these awesome characters in this cool setting. But before we go, do you want to give all of our listeners a chance to know where they can follow you, to follow your journey and see where this book comes?
I am on Substack for Jessica Morris, or Jessica Writes Here. And then I'm on Instagram at Jessica. I have to check my handle real quick.
I'll make sure to link it in the recording description as
Okay.
well. So
Yeah.
I think it's jessicadmorse.writes. That's what it is.
perfect.
um, yeah, and so those are really where those are the only places. I'm not on TikTok or anything like that. I was like
Yeah.
two channels is enough for me.
Yeah.
Yes.
I
Yeah.
feel that.
But yeah,
Yes.
definitely follow me there. I do, I post travel stuff as well and writing process. And I'm doing a series like a fictional series, rom-com thing too. So I'm kind of all over the place. I have lots of ideas.
So
Yeah.
exciting. And I do want to say just a plug because I did notice from the very moment that I checked out your Substack and just saw, what Jessica Writes Here is all about. Um, there was such a refreshing and beautiful sense of honesty and vulnerability and community and connection that I did see there. Because you write so honestly about the journey of writing. And I feel like a lot of people don't talk about the ugly parts and the hard parts and the discouraging parts of being an author. And I love that you're being brave and doing it scared, and being so honest with us. Because again, that's another moment of, um, that's a service that you're giving people that connection to say, you're not alone, you can do it too. So thank you so much for that. And I do want to
Oh,
encourage anyone listening, definitely go follow Jessica because she's
oh,
got some good stuff.
thank you so much. That means so much to hear. I appreciate that.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm
Definitely.
really
Well,
glad we got to highlight you today
yes,
in
yes,
our
so
Indie Author
exciting.
Spotlight. If anyone is listening who has a story that they want to share and help get it out in the world, we do have a sign up form. I think, Jaylon, are we booked through April?
I think
No,
we're yeah,
mid-April?
we're booked through at least half of April
Okay.
now. So
Okay. But we can get we want to highlight indie authors who are, sharing their authentic stories. So if we can help get your word out, your message out to the world a little bit more, we want to do that. So yeah, you can reach out to us. We can also drop the link to the form as well in that
yes,
if you want to be featured.
definitely. Thank you so much everyone who joined us live here. It was so great to hear all of your thoughts chiming in. We really appreciate the love that you showed Jessica and us as well. Getting on here and bravely talking to cameras and doing it scared. Um, Thank you so much. William, say good luck with your book, Jessica. Um,
Thank you.
yeah, we will see you all next week. Thanks for joining.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.